Konnichiwa Mina, and after some time, I finally got around to doing this. Here is week 14 of the 2018 DCFL season. As we are down to the final 5 weeks of the season, and here is the standings after the first 13 weeks. Indianapolis still has a number 1 seed in the conference. Seattle's number 2, Jacksonville's number 3, and Pittsburgh's number 4 as they're the playoff teams, with Baltimore having a tiebreaker over all the other 6 and 7 teams, and then Chicago, then New York, and then finally Phoenix. And it's the Charlotte Bobcats at 5 and 8, and then Oakland last place at 2 and 11. Oakland will be eliminated if they lose or Pittsburgh wins, and Indianapolis can clinch a playoff berth if they win, and Baltimore, Chicago, New York, and Phoenix all lose. So here's the schedule for week 14 as we start with the Charlotte Bobcats visiting the Baltimore Charm, then the Chicago Staleys visiting the Indianapolis Rapid Stallions, then the Jacksonville Scouts visiting the New York Gangsters, and then the Oakland Pillagers visiting the Pittsburgh Power, which is playoff elimination scenario right there. And then we finish it off with the Phoenix Devils visiting the Seattle Tenyo. So we start off with the Charlotte Bobcats visiting the Baltimore Charm. Charlotte lost last week, and Baltimore finally ended their 3-game losing streak last week with a huge win, as my Charm are trying to keep up in the playoff race, especially for that 4th seed right now, as we're right there in the mix looking in. And the Charm would win it 17-10 in a defensive struggle, as they were up 17-0 in the first half, but barely held off the Bobcats, tying the game to force overtime or a tie or whatever. Got very close right there. 5 sacks and 3 forced fumbles Baltimore did in the game. It was a very defensive game, and of course, with the win, not only the Charm back at 500, but this will prevent the Indianapolis Rapid Stallions from clinching a playoff spot this week. Speaking of Indianapolis, that's the next game, as the Rapid Stallions host the Chicago Staleys, as the Staleys trying to get back in the playoff mix too, as they've lost 2 in a row now. Indianapolis, they can't clinch a playoff spot, but they're trying to get back in their win streak after losing to Jacksonville last week, and to keep their 1-game lead over Seattle in the conference, since Seattle has a tiebreaker still over them. And Indianapolis would win in a defensive struggle 22-17, as Chicago actually took an immediate fourth quarter lead when they scored 2 touchdowns, but Indianapolis defense was able to hold on, and their offense finally started to kick into high gear to score 10 points needed to take the lead and the win. So they swept Chicago, as they now have the 2-game lead over Seattle for the moment, as Chicago continues to struggle. What a falling for grace for the best team in the league so far in terms of the overalls. Then it's the New York Gangsters hosting the Jacksonville Scouts, as the Scouts have the tiebreaker over the Tenyo right now, so they're trying to win and hope Seattle loses so they can get the 2nd seed. Meanwhile, New York lost 1 game now, trying to get back in the mix as well into the playoff race, and also trying to get some revenge from their blowout loss they suffered to Jacksonville earlier this year. But Jacksonville would sweep them as they win 14-13 in a defensive struggle, as New York put up one hell of a defensive effort. They held Jacksonville to under 340 yards and actually got more yards than them, believe it or not. But in the end, when they needed one more stop, they just couldn't pull it off, as Jacksonville got the last-second touchdown to take the win. And with that, guaranteed them a 500 record, as they have the 3rd seed, and they swept New York right now, as New York now lost 2 in a row, falling back into the playoff race. And then it's the Oakland Pillagers visiting the Pittsburgh Power, as Oakland still fighting and hoping to get a playoff spot, as they still can, but if they lose to Pittsburgh, that will blow away their chances. As they've gone 2-1 the last 3 weeks, so good for them. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh had their 4-game win streak broken last week, but still have the 4th seed in the playoffs under wraps right now, trying to win to keep up ahead of Baltimore at the moment to maintain their 4th seed. And Pittsburgh would destroy Oakland 31-10 in another defensive struggle too, as they had 2 sacks, 3 interceptions, and 2 forced fumbles, as Oakland's offense just could not get anything going pretty much in this game. And of course, with that loss, they are officially eliminated from the playoffs, the first team to do so, and Pittsburgh now has the 1-game lead over Baltimore and guaranteed the 4th seed for another week at least. Then we finish off the week as the Phoenix Devils visit the Seattle Tenyo. Seattle is trying to win to keep within 1 game of Indianapolis. Meanwhile, Phoenix is trying to win to keep up with Baltimore. And the last probably 2 remaining playoff teams that have any shot to maybe make a run for the playoffs, as Seattle beat Phoenix earlier this year, hoping to get the sweep, after that incredible comeback in the Windy City meltdown. But Phoenix got their revenge and won 24-17 as Seattle's offense was clicking in the first quarter, but after that, they could only muster a field goal after that as Phoenix completely shut down Seattle's offense, barely even got 300 yards as Phoenix got almost 400 yards. What a disappointing loss for Seattle, and of course with this loss, they now fall to third place behind Jacksonville in the playoff stand, so that was a devastating loss after those two incredible wins they had the last 2 weeks. And with that, Week 14's in the books as we're down to the final 4 weeks. As we take a look at the playoff stands now, Indianapolis now has the 2-game lead, with Jacksonville having the 2nd seed, but Seattle falling to the 3rd seed, and Pittsburgh still maintaining the 4th seed, as Baltimore has a tiebreaker over Phoenix, as they're only 2 teams really looking in. Chicago, of course, has a tiebreaker over New York, and then the Charlotte Bobcats at 5-9. Of course, Oakland now eliminated from playoff contention at 2-12. As we take a look at playoff elimination and clinching scenarios, Indianapolis, if they win or Phoenix and Baltimore lose, they will finally clinch a playoff spot. Also, Charlotte would be eliminated if they lose and Pittsburgh wins, but that's in terms of playoff scenarios. So we now take a look at the Week 15 schedule, as it'll be, oh boy, my Baltimore Charm visiting the Seattle Tenyo, then the Charlotte Bobcats visiting the Oakland Pillagers, as Oakland will try and play spoiler, then a big one, New York Gangsters against the Chicago Staleys. Whoever wins that's probably going to be the only team of those two remaining to make a playoff berth, or run, to say. Then the Indianapolis Rapid Stallions visiting the Phoenix Devils. That'll be an offensive shootout, and then we finish it off with a big playoff showdown with playoff implications, as the Pittsburgh Power visits the Jacksonville Scouts. And with that, Week 14 is in the books. I can't wait for Week 15 as we're down to the final 4 weeks. So see you soon for Week 15.